Monday night's return for GT3 action as sports car racing returns for Clark St. James Tanso Racing Group Season 6. And what a place to start things off for this 6-round calendar. It's now here at the Styrian countryside in Austria for the RedBull Ring. You join Alex Goldschmidt and James Parfitt. JP, it's good to be back and great to hear the roar of those GT3 machines around this fantastic nearly 2.7 mile circuit.
Yeah, it's great to be back again for Season 6 of the Clark St. James GT3s. I'm looking forward to this. I think it should be an absolute barnstormer. We are just coming to the end of qualifying before we go into the 45-minute race. We are having troubles with liveries. Apparently, it's not just me. Half of the Discord cannot load liveries. So everybody is in a default livery. I do literally apologise, but I cannot do nothing about it. I cannot get liveries to load. But nevertheless, the colour of the car ain't going to make it go any faster, so it will all be down to the drivers. Pro and Am split, of course, here as well, which is great to see. And at the moment, we've got 21 cars in the session. We do only have 19 times on the board. Christopher Haynes and Dave Collier have not got times at the moment, but I'm looking forward to this. I think this is going to be an absolute barnstorming season to open up with, and of course, we start here at the RedBull Ring.
Yep, and the next 5 rounds on the calendar will be Watkins Glen, Boots, then it'll be the Algarve, Mugello, Road America, and then the Circuit de la Sarthe, which will be on the 28th of April. That will be a 90-minute race, and there, well, the weather could play into the hands of anybody. You never know what might happen, but it is going to be a very, very quick race around here at the RedBull Ring. Lap times around about the 1 minute 30 mark. There's Christopher Haynes in the number 97. He's already had 7 laps disallowed due to exceeding track limits so far here in time qualifying, as we're getting down to the final 10 seconds. As James said, it's a 45-minute race. Now, all the drivers will be restricted to 50% fuel, which means that brings pit stops into the mix. Now, the drivers at that point can decide, if they so wish, to go for a tyre change as the check-in is out for qualifying, as Luis Martinez in the number 120 Ferrari 296 has pretty much put it on pole. Joseph Lopez looks to have put it on pole provisionally, but if Chris Haynes puts a time on the board, looks like he's going to be able to complete this lap here, JP, in the number 97 Porsche. But him and Dave Collier, they both have struggled to put lap times on the board. Dave Collier's just gone through. Oh no, Chris Haynes is definitely not going to have any good luck there. Neither is Craig Corish in the 113 car. It qualified on the inside of row 2, but Luis Martinez and Joseph Lopez have both respectively qualified as the pole sitters for both Pro and Am. Pro indicated by the yellow, Am indicated by the blue. So for those wondering, well, the Pros are anyone that has an I rating of 1500 and above, and Ams are under the 1500 I rating level. But, you know, if drivers do get a little bit higher up over the course of this 6-week series, well, you never know. They could end up starting as an Am and ending up as a Pro by the end of it. But who knows on that one?
We'll have to see how they go and deal with promos and stuff like that. It depends on how well the Am's doing, of course. Craig Corish just parked up there on the side of RedBull Mobile, the last penultimate corner on this one. Going to be very, very interesting indeed for these guys to have to try and deal with this circuit in general. This is one of the most inconsistent circuits for off-tracks I have ever seen in my life. Yeah. You sneeze at Remus and Niki Lauda and you've got an off-track and a slowdown, but you run as far as you want over through Roush and Worth and you don't get nothing. And they've only got 17x before they get a drive-through, so they've only got 17 X's to play with. Hopefully, they'll manage to get to the end without any problem. But we're just going to have to find out, dude. I think that's going to be the easiest thing.
Yeah, it is going to be the customary 2x2 rolling start. So we have to bring you with the grid. Ahead of the season opener here at the RedBull Ring, Luis Martinez starts from pole position, 4/10 quicker than Peter Duke in qualifying. Craig Corish and Matteo Smolny are on row 2, with Harry Hartley-Price and Andy White rounding out row 3. Baz Cutting and Tim Reed on row 4. And your top 10 completed by Scott Brown and Phil Giles in the 15 McLaren and the 21 Porsche. Josef Lopez from the Midwest in the USA takes pole in the 720 McLaren. Jared Love from Scotland in the number 10 Mustang takes P12, second in class, ahead of Tim Cullimore and Mark Wesley. Connor Pink and Mike Walters round out the top 8 rows, ahead of Christopher Radmore, Adrian Hadfield. Sean Clark, last driver to register a lap time in that session, starts 19th with Christopher Haynes and Dave Collier. Unable to set a lap time in qualifying, but more to the point here, folks, it is going to be a case of the points. Well, it goes all the way down to 15th position. 45 for a win, 42 for second, and 39 for third place. It goes down in relative increments, but 21 cars lined up on the grid. The Porsche safety car ready to let them head through Verth and then through into Red Bull Mobile before it dives into pit road, and then we'll be off and racing.
Yes, we will. And I'd like to point out it is not a progressive scoring system. It is the same scoring system for the AMs as the pros. So the AM leader will win. Well, the AM winner will get 45. The pro winner will get 45, and then 42, 39, 36, and all the way down onwards after that one. So it's not a progressive. So we shouldn't, in hindsight, see the AMs fight as much as you normally would do if it's a progressive system. Dig apart there. Good luck, Connor, and good luck to everyone involved, says Louis Martinez, who sat on pole position. He's like laughing at the moment out in the front. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they handle this, because this could either be really, really amazing, or it could go really, really badly wrong.
Well, they say that you can't win in turn 1, but you can definitely lose the opportunity to win in turn 1. But it's now going to be the case of just weaving a little bit from side to side, get an additional couple of degrees of temperature in the brakes and the tyre carcasses on the cars. Of course, for the last few months or so, we've had the good old debris model introduced onto the iRacing service. So that will definitely be quite interesting if people decide to drag the kitty litter onto the circuit from Verth in the midway part of the circuit. But pace car in the pit lane, red lights very shortly will ignite. And the Clark St. James Tanso Racing Group GT3 6th season will be underway here in the Styrian countryside, a couple of hours outside of Spielberg in Austria. As everyone starts to get into formation, the red lights are on, and already Martinez has put the pedal to the metal. And here at the Red Bull Ring, we are underway here for Season 6, Round 1. And Martinez already has an early advantage of about 0.4 of a second. Smolny trying to go up the inside of Corish through Nicky Lauda, as the Mustang of Andy White, the number 1 car, tries to make some moves up the order. We've got a lot of different machinery. Ferrari, Acura, Porsche, Ford, Corvette, and even the good old McLaren. The two driveway.com Porsches side by side. That was Harry Hartley-Price up the inside of Matthias Smolny. That was going through Remus, and now the long run down to Schlossgold, and the two Porsches are nearly wheel to wheel in the battle for P4.
Yeah, they have. That was a great start from Louis Martinez out in front. He held them for quite a while. Peter Duke's gone with him in second place. Kate Corish, Harry Hartley-Price has got Matthias Smolny sitting next to him. White in there, Baz Cutting, Tim Reed, and then they got a 1.2 second back to Jared Love, Phil Giles and Connor Pink. There has been some dramas back here, but I don't know if it was just a checkup from the guys in front, and that's why they're slow.
Oh, Gesundheit is all I'm going to say there for Mr. James Parfitt. Scott Brown getting compromised, and that was the 42 of Tim Cullimore in the Porsche 911 right behind him. But Andy White, because of the fact that Hartley-Price and Smolny are battling away coming out of Red Bull Mobile, the Mustang is going to have the run on the Porsche. The pair of Porsches, I might add. So Andy White's going to get a double slipstream here, up the hill into T1. Martinez has got an early lead of about 8 and a bit tenths of a second. And they all take a nice little nibble of the inside apex. Don't run wide and go over the sausage curb, which one of the cars in the background, I think that might have been Connor Pink trying to avoid it, currently second in the AM class. But Matthias Smolny being really hustled along by Andy White in the number 1 Ford Mustang, who's got Baz Cutting in the 144 Corvette, not too far behind the C8 variety. But yeah, as we know, Porsche does Porsches do like doing Porsche things, especially in the twisty stuff. They really hook it up there. But that Mustang has got a lot of clout in that 5.4 litre V8. However, the second of the Mustangs gets Phil Giles up the inside of him. So Jared Love gets a little bit of a hip check and a, come on, move out my way. And Phil Giles obliges with a nice little move in the number 21 Porsche.
Yeah, he did. He sent it in a big style there. He had to get through. That was an AM on Pro. Mind you, they're not very far apart in conjunction with I rating, but Jared Love now under pressure from Connor Pink in that McLaren. Scott Brown tucked in behind it. Tim Cullimore. Joseph Lopez is down off 3 places down in 4th. Mateus Smoley's just done that.
Oh, now I'm wondering, did that involve Harry Hartley-Price? Possibly not, no, because Harry's a little bit further away into Rint, and that's where he loses it big time. Oh, that was, I think, just carrying a bit too much overspeed there was Mateus Smolny in the number 26 Porsche. And sideways went the car, and Baz Cutting has found the barriers with the front end of the Corvette. As you said, if you sneeze at Nicky Lauda, you're going to end up somewhere. Well, for Baz Cutting,
sausage curve on the outside. Oh no! Oh, bit of both. He was already going on the way through. Far too fast going in there as well. The Corvette does like its back end to rotate and join its front. It's almost like a dog chasing its tail. Is the Corvette.
True.
So it does like coming round, but unfortunately for Cutting, he's just got to keep it on track. Great car. I will be honest, I love this car. But it's a little bit rear end happy. So unfortunately for Baz, he has gone and found that out. Martinez pulling away out front. Duke sitting in second. Corish, Hartley-Price, White, Reed, Giles. Love leading the AMs at the moment, but he has got Pink tucked in behind him with Scott Brown, Tim Cullimore, Mateus Smolny on the recovery. We've got a nice little battle with Adrian Hatfield. Now, Adrian joined the series about 2 minutes before the session went live, and he's sitting with about 4 people in behind him in the mid of the AMs, 6th in the AMs at the moment.
so he's basically the cork of the proverbial AM bottle at the moment, so to speak, in the number 17 next generation racing Porsche coming up over the crest, and that is going to be Chris Radmore, who didn't set a lap time in qualifying, but has got himself up into 7th position in the AMs. Looked like that was Chris, who was that in the background? That might have been Mike Walters in the number 84 Acura that went a little bit wide coming out of Rint. So, yeah, Chris Radmore liking the great emphasis on the red colour, but obviously the bit of a mistake there from Adrian Hadfield, and Chris Radmore was like a rat up a drain pipe through Nicky Lauda and just went, thank you very much, you've opened the barn door, I'll take that every single day of the week. And it's nearly 3 wide behind them as Mike Walters is trying to go wheel to wheel with,
dude.
No, that's not what you want in Remus, and everyone scatters amongst the pigeons.
Wow. The torpedo of, I believe it might have been, I don't think it was Mike Walters, was it Hatfield?
No, it was Walters. Look, Walters just absolutely too much speed, not enough on the brake pedal, and bang, straight into the side. That was a real shame there for Chris Radmore. He'd made up quite a few places.
Was he in the blue Porsche? It's a Porsche, isn't it? On the
It is a
inside?
Porsche,
It is.
yeah.
So, no, it's Chris Haynes. Watch the torpedo. Bop.
Bang.
So it was Haynes, yeah. I got the, I was going to say Waters is in the Acura. I was going to say it didn't look like an Acura. But yeah, Chris Haynes unfortunately just got it all a little bit wrong, in too deep, and became the proverbial torpedo, should we say. And literally, that was it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Meantime, Connor Pink still trying to close in on the AM class leader, Jared Love, who's got a little bit of a lead now, 1.4 seconds. As we have already completed 6.5 minutes. We're on now lap number 5 of this race. Some of the field's starting to stretch out a little bit here, JP, but obviously when we have the pit stop cycle, as that is going to be Tim Reed making a move, or
He's
trying
just been done, he just got done by Giles, Alex, unfortunately.
Yeah, so Phil Giles in the 21 Porsche, but Tim Reed coming straight back at him. Flames spitting from the V6 turbocharged Honda NSX, or Acura NSX, as they, well, we'd call it a Honda in the UK.
We would, yeah.
We would.
Why is it an Acura in iRacing?
Nobody's
never told me that.
Well, the thing is, from an automotive perspective, Acura is considered the luxury brand of Honda in the United States. It's a bit like Nissan and Infiniti, Toyota and Lexus. So that's where the name Acura comes from.
It's a Honda.
It's a Honda, but they just decided to call it an Acura instead. Maybe just to make it stand out a bit in the American market, for all I know. So, but like they say, JP, you learn something new every day, don't you?
We do, and if you learn something new every day, mate, by the time you get old, like I am, you become a very smart man. Unfortunately, I must have clearly forgotten a lot of what I learnt when I was younger. So there we go.
Likewise, to a point.
Yeah, we do. Mate, we do. This is the thing. Give us anything racing knowledge and we'll remember it forever. Give us something like, I don't know, whatever, some form of maths equation or something. We'll forget it within about 5 minutes because it's just not relevant to what we do. So there we go. However, Scott Brown is relevant to Connor Pink at the moment. This is an AM and Pro battle. And no, close. He was close, but he didn't quite get it. The problem with that tighter line, that's one of the reasons I don't really like the tighter line, is you end up going up after a nasty little bump that's just on the inside, like that Porsche just hit it there, and then that really kind of does jeopardize your exit, and you can't really escape as much as you want to. So
Haynes is in the barriers off of turn 3. So let's have a look. So is he going to get? Oh well, there was a McLaren alongside him,
straight,
and it's going to be a touch, slight glance right rear, bang in the barriers on the right.
Yeah, that wasn't Walters that time either, was it? It was Dave Collier. Unfortunately for Chris Haynes, not really sure. Crashing on a straight is always good. This might give us a bit of angle of who moved where. You can see Collier's all the way to the.
It looks like Chris moved over, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
but he was trying to cover him off. That was the thing. He was trying to anticipate, and Dave just kept his foot stuck in.
Oh, he is broke, dude.
That's broken. That's so broken. That's going to need more than a Zimmer frame to get that back to pit lane, I'm afraid.
Oh, dude, he is not getting that back. No offence there, Chris. Unfortunately, it looks like he has jumped back into pit lane. The two McLarens still going at each other, pink and brown. That isn't the colours of the car. That's their names. Unfortunately, pink is in the purple and brown is in the orange. So, close enough.
Yeah, and they're pretty much nearly wheel to wheel. At least they've given each other about a car and a half width between them. But now Brown's going to go up the inside through at Schlossgold. Pink's going to keep it. Connor Pink's going to keep it around the outside and possibly get the inside line. But no, good transition there by Scott Brown to get the move done. And then you got the recovering Matej Smolny, who at one point was side by side with his teammate in the AM, Adrian Hadfield, who's all the way down in 20th position. So we are just gone past 10.5 minutes, but we haven't seen, apart from Chris Haynes, who's had that unfortunate incident putting him into the barriers, affect themselves into the pit lane. So maximum fuel level per car, 50% of the capacity of that tank. And it looks like Smolny's got a good run on Connor Pink coming down the start-finish straight, so maybe the Porsche might dive to the inside into turn 1 if he was a little bit closer. But at that point, it's a case of waiting to come out of Niki Lauda and then go full throttle up the hill. Tim Cullimore, I think, has just entered pit lane, so might be the first person to do so. Let's see. Oh, no, well,
where are you going?
Mike Walters. Let's have a look from the helicam. So he's going to turn it in. Oh, he's lost it already. And he thought, oh yeah, am I? It's like when what was it? When Bono told Lewis Hamilton to go in, and he's gone in. No, stay out.
Yeah,
and that's what's just happened with Mike Walters.
Yeah, he got distracted by that Porsche. I think he wasn't quite sure if the Porsche was going in or out. And it went in, and unfortunately it cut straight across his nose, and then unfortunately just the aero wash unsettled the car, and around he went. And that was one of the problems here. This is the battle for third on the road. This is two Porsches, Corish and Hartley Price fighting out. Then we've got Giles and Reed a little bit further down in 6th and 7th. They're not very far apart, as of Schmolny and Connor Pink. Unfortunately, though, for that Porsche, that McLaren has got some gruff behind it, so he's going to be struggling a little bit. Then we've got Baz Cutting with Clark and Radmore further back as well. So four packs of battles taking place on the racetrack at this moment in time. So great action coming, and as you said, pit stop window probably around about another 10 minutes yet, I would have thought.
Yeah, well, Tim Cullimore, who jumped in on lap 7, was in for just under 18 seconds. Mike Walters had probably the best part of nearly 40 seconds worth of damage to the Acura after it went spinning around into the pit lane whilst being distracted by the Porsche that went in front, which would have been Tim Cullimore anyway. So, but yeah, Harry Hartley Price is trying to catch up with Craig Corish, is giving him a little bit of something to think about. So the 113 is going to have to play the defensive game until he decides to blink and then chuck the car into pit lane, but don't chuck it into the barriers whilst you do so. But yeah, Hartley Price has got a real good run coming out of Verth, and now it's the run down to Rint and then Red Bull Mobile. So now we're about a minute and a half away from 1/3 of the time are being completed here in this 45-minute race. Of course, apart from the Le Mans 24-hour circuit finale, where it's going to be a 90-minute race, tyres will not be a factor. That's what we discussed, you and I, JP, before we went live this evening, that, if it was an hour, yeah, you can understand it, but 45 minutes, a GT3 car is quite compliant until you get to like 55, 60 minutes, and that's when the car starts to have a little bit of a wobbly because the tyres aren't working like they were when they were brand new.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Generally at this time of... the general rule of thumb, I should say, within iRacing is if it's not an hour or more, tyres aren't really a factor. You should be good. You can at certain tracks double stint tyres. We've seen it at Sebring, we've seen it at Daytona, we've seen it at multiple others as well. So, and Red Bull, it can be quite tough on tyres because of it's fast, it's short, it's constant, so it can be a little bit rough. But I think, as I say, within 45 minutes these guys are going to be fine. There's no reason to change tyres. I'll be very surprised if anybody does. In fact, I would be completely shocked if they do, to be honest, but I don't think they're going to need to here. As you say, maybe at the 90 they might have a forced tyre change, or they might choose to, but again, it's Le Mans and it's long and it's running a lot of times, isn't it? And it's very, very sort of, not really rough on tyres.
Yeah, well, we've got just under 30 minutes to go, and the top three at the moment in Pro and Am looks as follows. Luis Martinez in the 120 Ferrari leads the way by 4.4 seconds ahead of the 177 Acura of Peter Duke. Craig Corish rounds out the top three, just fractionally ahead of Harry Price. Jared Love has made up 4 positions in total. Started P12, currently running P8 in the number 10 Mustang. Connor Pink and Josef Lopez are currently 2nd and 3rd, and they're not too far behind Matthias Molney, who
he's gone in deep.
Started. Oh dearie, well, that's not what you want to do there, Mr. Giles.
No, but they are going to come out and run side by side at the moment. You can see there, just being Giles has got that run. He's going to try and send it in late on the brakes going into turn 3. No. Gets his nose cut off, and unfortunately he cannot go through, but he sent it in deep. And unfortunately for him, into Remus was not his nice corner, because he ended up losing that position to Reed in front of him. So great move there. Great opportunist move from Reed at that point. We've got Baz Cutting coming through the field. He's up behind Dave Collier as they're going into Schloss Gold at this moment in time. Dave in the green Acura, Baz in the yellow Corvette. I'm sure that will change once the paint system works properly.
Yeah, touch wood on that one. Chris Haynes has rejoined at the tail end of the field. He's probably nearly 2 laps down at the minute. He was in the pits for just over We're just under 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Tim Cullingmore was in the pits for nearly a minute. Mike Walters was in the pit lane for just, on their marks in the pit box for about 51 seconds as we ride on board with this wonderful Corvette from Baz Cutting. So trying to close in, and now the slipstream comes into effect. 5th gear, and he's bump drafting him on the run to turn 1 at Nicky Lauda. But he's got to be very, very careful on how he measures his braking coming out of the opening corner. And now we'll get an opportunity to see on board how effective this slipstream really is in these GT3 cars up the hill.
Yeah, I think he should have got it in turn 1. He waited too long. He waited far too long for cutting. He should have got in 1 because now he's going to lose time on the Acura. Different line coming out, unfortunately, of Remus, and that's going to cost him as well. I told you that bump was nasty. You want to take it a little bit wider to be able to do it, and unfortunately he didn't, so now he's lost time altogether. And I think for Baz, that was the wrong way round. I think you should have gone for that one.
Meantime, back to the battle for P3 overall. Craig Corrish versus Harry Hartley-Price. And both seem to be very, very happy with their cars at the moment. Of course, there's no open setups in this series. It is a fixed setup for all respective cars. And Hartley-Price is really starting to be looking a bit menacing behind the rear wing of Corrish as they're going to go up the hill in towards Remus. So can there be a possibility that Harry Hartley-Price ends up within 2.5, maybe 0.2 of a second? It's going to be about 0.4 as they hit the braking zone for Remus. But it's not much in it, about half a car length at the moment. So if Harry Hartley-Price gets a real good run down the hill, of course, the downhill ascent really does help. And then we've got LASWOW saying, come on, Connor. So cheering on Connor Pink down in second place, second place in AM. 11th overall, but I think it's going to be a case of but when does Harry Hartley-Price pull the trigger and put a frightener on Craig Corrish?
I'm a little bit worried about that. They're not actually going to do that. And the reason I say that is for the last 20 minutes, they've been in exactly that same position. Hartley-Price has not been aggressive. He hasn't looked aggressive. Oh, there we go. Just so I say that. He pulls out, and that's the first time I've actually seen him do anything aggressive in that car. And every time I've jumped up to him, they've just been following my leader. But that's the first time. That's what I mean. He hasn't shown weaving and deep and sending it in and, putting his nose out there. He hasn't done any of that. He's just sat there and followed him. So maybe he's fuel saving and he might be able to jump him into pit stops. I don't really know. I'm going to presume 50% is not going to get him 45 minutes. I'm pretty goddamn sure that that's not going to happen. So I'm just wondering whether or not when they're going to stop. I think it's going to be within the next 5 minutes, I think.
Yeah, I think probably getting towards halfway, we're about just over 2 minutes and 20 away. Phil Giles, again, battling away with Tim Reed, swings to the outside at Remus here at the top of the hill. And all that Porsche nearly looked like it might have had the tail wagging the dog, so to speak, ever so slightly. But Phil Giles able to put the power down through Remus, now in towards Schlossgold. Giles is going to have the inside line. Reed goes wide, goes for the switchback attempt. Perfectly timed there by Phil Giles. Got the inside line and parked that car bang on the racing line, as if to say to Tim Reed, right, you're not getting past me on this occasion. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's it. I think Giles has now cemented his place right in front of Reed. You can see the Corrish Hartley-Price come down again, but they're just not doing anything. It's just kind of following him through there. So I do wonder whether or not Hartley-Price is just literally saving fuel as much as physically possible. Tim Reed in the back, however, is having a good old go in that Acura, so fair play to him. Then we've got Scott Brown there. Mateusz Smolny has got Connor Pink in behind, second in AMS at the moment. So Jeffrey, he is doing rather well. He's sitting second in the AMS. He's up 4 places for this young man in the McLaren though, but he has got the qualifying pole man of Josef Lopez in that AMS, of course, right in behind him, and both of them are in McLaren.
Yeah, And, well, Jared Love and Scott Brown are within 3/10 of each other now, so the battles are starting to get a bit more regular up and down the order. But yeah, like you say, with Hartley Price and Craig Corrish, it's a bit like that comedy sketch. To me, to you. To me, to you. That's how that gap has sort of like been pendulum swinging all the way through the race so far, as we have gone past the halfway point here at the RedBull Ring for round 1 of Season 6 of the Clark St. James Tanso Racing Group GT3 series. And yeah, Lopez running in the 55 car, still trying to get on terms with Connor Pink. As you see, Connor Pink's McLaren just literally spit some gravel behind it, and it looks like it caught the top part of the windscreen of Lopez's McLaren, but right behind him. So this battle is not going to die down by any stretch of the imagination. But of course, the main thing is, folks, everyone up to 18th, which includes Adrian Hadfield in the number 17 Porsche, have yet to make a proper pit stop. But the main thing is that Mike Walters, Tim Cullimore and Christopher Haynes have all had to have pit stops due to damage. Mark Wesley in the 88 Porsche has just dipped into pit lane. So that's our first precursor. So I would imagine in the next 5 to 10 minutes, we could see a big raft of pit stops here, James.
Yeah, I think so. And I'd be interested to see how this pans out. This is where it's going to pan. Oh, blimey. Go on, son. Yes. It's taken 24 minutes of Harry Hartley-Price, and he has finally got through on Craig Corrish. So well done, Harry. Congratulations, son. Took him 24 minutes.
Yep. And that gives him a little bit of a possible advantage depending where his pit box is in the pit lane. It is... you have to sort of come down through Rint, and then you have to get on the brakes a little bit earlier. You're not going to take the full committed route going through RedBull Mobile, but you've got to be very, very careful how you enter that pit lane. So Hartley Price and Corrish both come through, and at the minute, well, so to speak, they are still going to carry on for a little bit longer. Luis Martinez still leading. His lead over Peter Duke now is 6.4 seconds and climbing. Martinez also has the fastest lap of the race at 29.750. Last time around when he completed lap 16, Martinez did a 129.816. So good consistency for the 120 Ferrari 293 GT3 that leads the way. So at the moment, on course for maximum points in the opening round, Luis Martinez in the overall lead of the race, and Jared Love leading the way 9th overall in AMS in the number 10 Mustang. So those two drivers have kept their noses clean, let's say, JP.
Yeah, definitely. Connor Pink is on his way out of pit lane. So he is just coming out on that one for Connor. But Phil Giles is still in there in the blue Porsche. He's still got Tim Reed in behind him. So lots of action, I'm sure, still to come once the pit stop cycles revel through. And, you know, at the end of the day, they've all got to do it. It's just a matter of when they will do it. And what sort of time they're going to be able to get. They've got to make sure they can get it in the booth. They've got to make sure they can get it in the, you know, in the spot. Don't mess it up. Don't go too fast. Don't get a pit lane speeding penalty. All of these things to come into, and for these guys to try and get right going into pit lane. Yeah.
Also noticed that Mark Wesley pitted just the lap beforehand. Spent a bit more time in the pit lane, 22.65 seconds for the number 88 Porsche. But Tim Reed, well, now as I say that, Craig Corrish is taking on board lubrication of the petrol variety. And there is Josef Lopez, our pole sitter in AM. He comes in and has just been on his marks in the pit lane for just over 10 seconds now. So pit stops, we're seeing if it's just going to be taking on fuel about 13.5 seconds. Lopez, however, has gone now north of 20. So that says to me possibility that if the tyres haven't been feeling too great, then he'll change them at the same time as getting fuel on board that McLaren. 23.53 seconds for the number 55, and he's going to rejoin in around 16th to 18th place before we see the next amount of pit stop cycles coming through.
Yeah, there's going to be a couple of people that are going to kind of be out of sync. I mean, you know, Corish at the moment, as you say, sitting down in 10th. We got Pink has been in, is 4th in class, but people above him have not been in as of yet either. So, you know, they've still got time. You can see on the left-hand side who hasn't stopped. It's basically more easier to say who has, because obviously who hasn't is quite a large chunk of the field at the moment.
Yeah, so out of pretty much everybody, we have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So effectively 7 pit stops have happened, 3 of which were not of the fault of the individual that has had to go through pit lane, especially if you've been in the barriers a little bit earlier on. Real shame for Christopher Haynes. It could have been a very different story had he not had that contact going out of Remus and in towards Schlossgold and putting him into the barriers. So that's the thing about the Red Bull Ring as well, JP, that it can bite pretty hard when it wants to.
Yes, it can. I think that's the thing. It can... you've got 2 things to avoid. One, that lovely yellow sausage curve there. You can do what Connor Pink did, and you can do it for 15 laps, and then on lap 16 you do the same thing and it spits you out, chews you out and throws you off. You know, there's no rhyme or reason to it. This is the thing. Same here. Again, you can come up, you can get up the hill, you can do the same thing over and over, apply the pressure just a little bit early, and you can almost do what Connor did and got a slide out, but this time ended up in the wall. It is a really, really bizarre but tricky circuit at the same time.
Okay, more pit stops happening. So 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th. And yep, so the raft of pit stops are coming in as we have 16 minutes left to go. Peter Duke was the first of the drivers from 2nd all the way down to 9th that came in at the same opportune window.
This is the one. This is how, sorry, Alex. This is how far Corish is going to get up. How far is he going to go? Is he going to move up any... Well, he does. Does he get 4th? Is he going to get Hartley Price? I think Hartley Price is already out and up and running. And unfortunately for Corish, that time that he had has puffed away like Harry Potter up a chimney, because now Hartley Price is a lot further up the road. And believe it or not, it was his pit lane time. It wasn't his pit stop that made the difference. His pit lane time itself over Corish, 46.2, which is entry and exit, was a 44.8. For Hartley Price. So Corish has got to work on his pit stops, because that's where he's just lost that 2 seconds from, unfortunately, to him. So he's going to be chasing his tail. Jared Love, after his pit stop, after everybody else has got in, is now leading the class. Connor Pink isn't far away, so this is one battle that can materialize right up into the end. So great little battles coming in conjunction with the fight. I think Martinez, who is in pit lane now, he's leaving pit lane. No, he's just stopped. Where is Duke? Duke's on his way round of 8, turn 8, coming in through 9, so he should get in and out very, very easily beforehand, unless he's had some major dramas.
Well, car dumps off the wheel jacks and through out of the pit lane. Starts to come the 120 Ferrari 296 GT3 of Luis Martinez, who at the last count had a 34-second lead over Peter Duke, and now with the revised timing after that last set of pit stops, just goes to show how quickly things can change on that front. And now everyone has had a pit stop taken in this race so far, so it is going to be a sprint race to the end here on the Clark St James TRG GT Season 6 opener. But Tim Reed again closing in on Phil Giles. They've been doing musical chairs here in Austria between the pair of them as Reed closes up under braking through into Remus. There is also Scott Brown, I believe. Yeah, I think might be behind him, Scott Brown. Then there's also one of the Acuras a little bit further back. So definitely doesn't look like Peter
No,
Duke,
I think
but
it's
it's
a
either
back
going to be.
marker.
I think it's either Walters or Collymore.
No,
Collier,
Walters.
sorry.
Yeah, Walters in there. So he's going to be jumping out the way at the moment because I believe that is Shimoni does not want to lose time to Brown. Brown was closing and is closing to Reed and Giles. So Brown has quite benefited from that pit stop cycle. Josep Lopez, unfortunately, has had a little bit of a boo-boo. Good evening, Mr. Jones. Hope you are well. Ah, bro, you're too fast. Round you go. Enjoy that one. Snap, 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 and round. There we go. For Lopez on that one.
And a little bit of tyre smoke for good measure as well.
Oh,
coming down to the last 12.
Tyre.
Steamy tyres. Yeah, forget Tina Turner and her steamy windows. Just remember TRG GT3s with smoky tyres. Barbecue, anyone?
Nice. So there we go. But we have got 12 minutes remaining here. And these guys continuing to fight it out. Martina's been out in front, absolutely massive at the moment. Love leading the AMs, not really getting Connor Pink closer. Connor Pink was probably closer coming out of his pit stop than he was there. But Tim Reed has got a bit of a run at this moment in time here. Is he going to be able to make it down into Sloshgold again? I don't think he quite got the exit. And unfortunately for him, he's going to have to sit in behind one more time.
Yeah, it looks like he also might have lost a little bit of time as well, going a little bit sideways through one of the corners. But now in towards Rauch we go with Giles, Reed, and now Scott Brown is going to join the party. There you see him, just the back of the shot. Matthias Smolny not too far behind here either. As once again, Tim Reed manages to kick up a lot of gravel coming out of Wörth. Through the sand trap, but we are heading towards the last 11 minutes of this race. These battles are really heating up now, and there is no quarter being given at any time between these competitors when they sort of concertate her up.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's not the Pirates code, and you can see now Reed's going to try and... he got covered off. I'll tell you what Giles did do there, mate. He took it off track, and he knew he had to. So if he had some in his pocket and he banked them on for that one from Giles, he took one. Brown's now going to go under pressure. He's going to put these under pressure at the same time. We're going to run free wide. We're not at the moment. Nearly, Alex, nearly. There was contact going in, and Giles looks like he's going to come out on top.
Yeah, that could have been a very, very squeaky bum time situation if those cars had gone three wide. But, yeah, this gives an opportunity to the McLaren from in behind. And once again, Reed and Giles just swapping positions like it's going out of fashion at the minute. Now into Hull, the first of two respective double left-handers. Oh, Tim Reed's dropped it. He hit the kiddie litter and around it went.
Oh, man. Not the way you wanted to have that one happen for Reed, unfortunately. In that Acura, he just carried too much.
Yeah.
He does manage to recover, but yeah, unfortunately for him, it's around he goes. But 9 minutes still to go as these guys go over the line, and we've got Chris Radmore having a nice little ding-dong further back here in his Ferrari with Sean Clark.
And the Ferrari dives up the inside through at Schlossgold. That's the drag race through a quick S-bend configuration through into Rauch. So here is Christopher Radmore, the number 29 in the up-to-date 296 GT3 racing car. And Radmore is being closed in on by Sean Clark. Now, a lot of these leagues, some people say, yeah, well, you can have X amount of car choices or vehicle choices thereof. In iRacing, well, if it's all the same kind of car, like, say, a London Black Cab, then there'll be nothing to separate between the two of them. But, yeah, Christopher Radmore just trying to make up for that difficult Session 3 in qualifying yesterday evening. And I could tell he was a little bit frustrated because that's part and parcel of motorsport, folks. You have the highs, you have the lows. You need to sometimes be consoled by somebody, and that's exactly what can happen even in the virtual world of sim racing.
Yeah, definitely. Whatever you're looking at in the real world that can happen, well, it can happen here at the same time, and that's the thing. But these guys now are all going to be back together. I wonder if they're going to battle enough to bring Reed in the last 7 minutes, and we have a nice little four-car scrap. And be like, four-car battle going on a racetrack, because at the moment they're not letting off. Brown is doing what I thought Hartley Price would have done, and basically just, putting him under pressure, which is what he is doing. Craig Jones there, like getting lost. No, you're the only one I know that got lost at Silverstone, Mr. Jones.
Enough said on that. And that is just a running gag with Craig as well, folks. So don't worry. But Scott Brown has again tried to get through on Phil Giles, and Phil just using the traction from the rear axle. Of course, the Porsche is rear-engined, rear-wheel drive, and the Macca goes through. Oh, Scott Brown and Phil Giles nearly came to blow. This is going to bring in Mateusz Smolny and Tim Reed side by side into Hull. That never goes well. But the McLaren of Brown was trying to look to the outside, now trying to switch to the inside through Verth. And then it's the run down to Rindt. And then, Smolny and Reed join this battle in earnest. So, two's company falls more than a crowd. It's a gaggle when you talk about GT3 cars as they go through Rindt down the hill. As Scott Brown again trying to put the frighteners on. Tim Reed has ended up going into the pit lane.
He didn't put in enough fuel.
Oh.
He can't have done.
That's a bit like getting lost.
Unless he's going to drive through. Did he? Oh, he's got to drive through for Mr. Reed.
Oh, dearie me.
Walk of shame for Mr. Reed.
Dum da dum da da dum da dum.
And there he goes. I mean, he's only got 5 more to play for before he does it again, so he's got to be a little bit careful.
Yes, and a lot can happen in just under 6 minutes. As Scott Brown has got to his immediate right-hand side the number 26 Porsche of Mateusz Smolny. They're going to head through into Schlossgold. And what's Smolny going to do here? Clips the curb big. Oh, Brown nearly had a little bit of a wiggle on the back end of that McLaren 720S. GT3 there are still side by side now heading into Hull, and Brown gets that advantage back in his favour once again by about a car length, if that. Then through into Verth, a very deceptive complex here at the Red Bull Ring. It's a left, then it's another left, then it's a right, and then give it all your berries on the loud pedal on the right hand side. Oh, Smolny's lost it. Oh, that turn 9 with Rindt is really catching so many people out tonight.
And that is a Porsche doing Porsche things all day for Mateusz Smolny. That was literally, he's probably done that for the last 40 minutes or so. And then in the last one, the Porsche says, nope, gonna kill you. And there was somebody going in pit later.
That was Chris Haynes going past his rear wing.
Did that lead to his drive-through? By the looks of it, it is as well.
Oh.
Another naughty boy. I did say at the beginning, they've only got 17. I'll be wondering to see how many go through. And Smolny does go through. He drops down the order, and by the looks of it, he's going to call it a day. But Giles is still now got Brown closing in on him. He is. Smolny's back in pit lane, and I'm going to probably guess that's the end of that one. But I did say 17 was tight here, and a couple of them have come a cropper of it already.
Yeah, well, we've got this and 2 more laps to go because Luis Martinez crossed the line with 4 minutes remaining. So when he's lapping at, 1 minute 20, he's running so consistent as well as Martinez. He's just done a mid 129.6 on lap 27 as Brown just getting a bit racy behind Phil Giles. Gap is next to nothing coming down the hill into Red Bull Mobile. And do both of the cars drift a little bit wider than usual? Yes, but Brown just keeping within that dirty air. Tries to switch to the outside heading into turn 1 at Nicky Lauda corner. And as they now exit that turn, it's the time to blast up the hill and give it the berries.
Yeah, it is. It's a full sprint now, as fast as you can go, of course, for these guys. Brown's got to look at closing in. Is he going to be able to get there? Nope, not this time either. Unfortunately for Brown, this is going to be this for the next 2.5 minutes. This is. Martinez is on his way round the last couple of corners. 1:29.66, fastest lap of the race last time out for Louis Martinez, and he's going to go over the line with one more to go.
Yeah, so the laps have racked up very, very quickly. We're on to lap 29 here at the Red Bull Ring, and there is your race leader for XPD Emerald Racing, the 120. The Cavallino Rampante of Luis Martinez doing a stellar job. He's leading by nearly 14.6 seconds as he heads up the hill into Remus for what I think will be the penultimate time of this race. But it's turn the car, rotate it through the corner, and then go a little bit hell for leather. When it comes to, braking, acceleration, you sometimes have to be that little bit more aggressive, don't you?
Yeah, you definitely do. And Martinez has just gone away out in front for Scott Brown. He's got to try and be really aggressive, but he hasn't got long to try and be aggressive. That's the problem. But the question is not if he's going to be aggressive, it's how is he going to be aggressive? What is he going to be able to do? He's got to either punt to pass, or he's got to stick a nose in and hope that Giles makes a mistake, or he's got to do something, because at the moment he's stared at the back end of that Porsche for the last 10 minutes or so since they all had that little moment for Reed, I believe it was. So what is he going to be able to do? He can't seem to be able to do a lot at the moment.
Yeah, I completely agree with that sentiment there, James. It's just trying to measure whether it's worth the old adage of risk versus reward, and at the moment, well, people aren't willing to take a risk, but they will sample the other part of the equation to make sure they get a little bit of an advantage over the opposition. But that's easier said than done. We are coming down towards the final few seconds, 38 on the timer to go, and Luis Martinez is nearly 50% of the way through lap number 30. Scott Brown and Phil Giles still squabbling over 6th place in the dying stages of this race, and P6 is 30 points, P5 33, Sean Clark, and I think that's, it's not Tim Cullingworth behind him, that is going
Hadfield
to be...
in front.
Yeah, so Hadfield in front, Clark now down to, now in 16th, having made up 3 positions. He was the lowest qualifier in terms of the pro class, but the timer has expired, and this time around, well, let's... concentrate on this man here. Haven't seen hide nor hair of him, but now is the real time to concentrate on the 120 Ferrari 296 GT3. As after 30 laps of racing here at the Red Bull Ring for the season opener for Season 6, it goes the way of Spain's Luis Martinez for XPD Emerald Racing. And he's going to win it by a country mile. DC Motorsports' Peter Duke comes around the corner in the Acura NSX GT3. The number 177 will take P2. And rounding out your top 3 in Pro will be Harry Hartley-Price. Started 5th, ends up rounding out the provisional rostrum. Still, the battle between Messrs. Giles and Brown has not gone unabated by any stretch of the imagination. But can the McLaren get the legs on the Porsche coming out of the final corner? Yes. Well, it's going to be a very short run to it. But yeah, there we go. Phil Giles takes that place, and then we got Jared Love winning not just in the AM class, but also a nice semblance of a victory, being 8th position out of all the drivers, all 21. Connor Pink finishes behind Jared Love. And here comes Baz cutting. And despite the fact that that's not exactly an easy steed to master, the Corvette C8R, so the first Corvette to have a mid-engined rear-wheel drive driveline setup. And Mike Walters comes across the line with, I think it was just over a lap down. Tim Cullimore, a race that could have been very, very different indeed. And last trip into the pit lane was 3.7 seconds. But more to the point, well, Luis Martinez takes the spoils of victory here in round one. Some argy-bargy here there, but altogether quite good racing. So here is the provisional results for round 1 out of 6. Luis Martinez for XPD MMO Racing takes the victory by 15.6 seconds ahead of Peter Duke. Harry Hartley-Price rounds out your top 3 in the Pro class with Craig Corish, Andy White, Phil Giles and Scott Brown rounding out the top 7 overall. Jared Love takes the win in the number 10 Mustang itself, ahead of Connor Pink by 7.4 seconds. And then we had Tim Reed down in 10th, Baz cutting. Mark Wesley rounded out the top 3 in the AM classification in 12th, ahead of Josef Lopez, Christopher Radmore and Adrian Hadfield. Sean Clark finished in 16th, ahead of Mike Walters, with Tim Cullimore and Christopher Haynes all getting their fix of GT3 action here on a Monday night, JP.
Yeah, it's been a great race, this one. Looking forward to seeing how they get on. We do have Peter Duke waiting for you for a chat. I'm going to rely on you to pull him in on that one, Alex, because apparently I'm not allowed.
Yeah, seems like for some reason your boss privileges have been revoked for some reason, and it's through no fault of your own. Let's see if we can bring him up here. Well, Peter Duke, good evening. Welcome to the post-race interview show. How are you?
Not so bad, thank you very much.
Well, a good way to start off the season, finishing P2, nearly 16 seconds behind Lewis in the Ferrari, who got away pretty much like a scalded cat, didn't he?
Yeah, Lewis, I think he did one race at the start of the year, but I sort of try and gauge myself on Harry and Andy and those guys. You know, Lewis is, I think, is 4.7k, which is alien status, but I just wanted to get a good qualifying session, get a clean start round the first corner, stayed with him for 4 or 5 laps, but his consistency was just too quick. But I say the season's not won on the first race, so
yep.
I was happy just to sit there, and sometimes you learn from these quick guys sitting behind them, even if it is for 4 laps.
Yeah, and I mean, with the fact that RedBull Ring, I think, is pretty much the shortest circuit I think we have on this on the season 6 calendar, so it's a good way to get everyone into rhythm. Now, one question I need to ask you, Peter: what was your choice for going with the Acura NSX for season 6?
When it came out last year, I said I would try it, and for some reason, it just suits my driving style. I've tried a Porsche, I've tried Ferrari around here, and for some reason it was 0.8 of a second slower. It just suits me, and I've stuck with it and tested it, and just got a brake bias and whatever just to suit the car and me. So it takes away thinking, oh, should it be in that car? Should it be in that car? Pick one car that you're quick in, and that's why I picked it. I love it.
Well, a good start to season 6, P2, netting you 42 points. And then, well, in a week's time, we go to Watkins Glen with the boots. How's that going to play to the strengths of the Acura for you?
Yeah, I've been around it already just for a few tests, and yeah, it seems steady enough. So it does. So, but as I say, 1 week to the next, we'll see how it goes. And thanks everybody for a good race, and thanks to you guys for a great broadcast.
Anyone else you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go, Peter?
No, that's it. Just you guys for doing a great broadcast, and all the other drivers.
Brilliant. Peter, thanks so much for talking to us. P2 tonight. We'll see you next week at Watkins Glen for round 2.
Good man. Thank you.
So a big thank you there to Peter for joining us in the post-race interview show. Let's bring in our third place driver, who had a great little battle with Craig Corish. It's Harry Hartley-Price. Let's bring him in. Well, Harry, good evening. How are you?
Yeah, good. Sweaty after battling Blooming Craig. I don't know if you were watching us do that, but I am knackered.
I saw you play follow my leader, Harry, for most of the first 25 minutes, mate. I don't know what battling you were talking about, but I didn't see any for 25 minutes.
No, it was good race. Yeah, Peter's. I couldn't catch him, and the other. I forgot who the other guy's called, but he is on a different level.
Yeah, Luis. Alien-esque with 4.7 ki rating. Yeah, I can completely understand your answer on that one, but yeah, I think it was 24 minutes before you decided to stop ducking behind Craig's rear wing and just send it up the inside. But of course, the season opener is a good opportunity to give the car a proper racing run and to get the feel of it. What was the reason for choosing the Porsche? Does it complement your driving style in particular?
I just wanted a change because I did the McLaren last time, and I think the Porsche is one of the best all-round cars, especially what we've coming up like Mugello, Algarve. It's brilliant around them. So yeah, I just changed it up, but it is getting a bit of a Porsche fest in here. But yeah, why not change up?
Well, I mean, obviously, Mateus, you and him were side by side in the early couple of laps before Mateus, I think, had a bit of a spin early doors and dropped quite a way down the order. Actually, finished down in 20th place, having qualified pretty well. It's a bit worrying when you've got a teammate alongside you. So, like, we're not taking each other out. Just take it nice and calm. It's only the first race out of 6.
Yeah. He squeezed me after turn 1 a bit near the grass, but I was just like, I'm committing to this. I don't think we made any contact or anything. Nothing like that. But, yeah, just good, hard racing.
Brilliant. Looking forward to Watkins Glen next week, mate?
Yeah, I do really like Watkins Glen. I'm most looking forward to Mugello. I quite like it around there. So that'll be a good one. And Algarve's pretty good. So good lineup.
Well, Harry, before we let you go and enjoy the rest of your evening and calm yourself down after the sweaty work behind the wheel, anyone else you'd like to give a thank you shout out to tonight?
Just to Craig. Like, we had a great battle and it was clean. Yeah, that's it really. We had a good one and roll on to Watkins Glen.
Brilliant. Well, Harry Hartley-Price, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week for round 2 at Watkins Glen, mate. Well done tonight.
Yeah, cheers, thank you.
Okay, big thank you there to Harry Price. Let's bring in our AM class winner, who did a very, very good job winning the class actually by, I think it was 7.4 seconds at the end of the race. Let's bring in Jared Love. Jared, good evening. Welcome into the post-race interview show. How are you doing? Well done on the win in the AM class, buddy. Winning by 7.4 seconds in the Mustang.
Yeah, good, thank you. It was a good fun race. I kind of was in no man's land, I think, between the top 6 or 7 ahead of me, and then the gap behind me as well.
Yeah, I mean, you sort of got an early advantage. I mean, everyone was battling tooth and nail and jockeying for position, but it was about just settling into a rhythm, wasn't it, at this opening round of the season?
Yeah, I wasn't actually meant to be racing tonight, but so I hadn't done any practice up until an hour before the race. So the fact that I got a win is unbelievable, to be fair. But here we are. I had a really good start. I made about 5 or 6 places. That's maybe an exaggeration, actually. I made a couple of places on the start. Which gave me a bit of gap to Connor behind me for the second AM, and I kind of got towed along a little bit by Phil and Tim, gave me a bit of slipstream down the straights.
I mean, a lot of people have decided to change their cars. Obviously, you've got to run with the Mustang for the whole season. What do you like about the vehicle? More to the point.
I don't really know. I used the Porsche last season and was very comfortable with it. It's definitely my favourite GT3 to drive, but I thought I was staying in the AMs this season. mix up the car and just try something that will test me a little bit and hopefully make me a better driver. I've only driven it really a couple of races. I'm not very experienced with it, so it's very good in a straight line. A bit of a boat in some of the corners, quite slow.
Yeah, I mean, I think what was it? We were speaking to Harry Hartley Price, and he said, "Yeah, it has become a bit of a Porsche fest, and it's nice to see drivers like yourself. Obviously, you said that you were with the Porsche last season, and you decided to go with a car that's getting a lot of love on iRacing in terms of the Mustang. A lot of people are loving the fact that they've actually got a new up-to-date car that's, you know, as you said, it's great in a straight line, a bit of a boat, or maybe more like a 300-foot yacht in the corners at some points. But still to get a win. You said you weren't going to be around tonight, but Watkins Glen, going to be a different challenge for that car, isn't it? You've got a bit of a roller coaster sort of feel at Watkins Glen, especially going up the hill through the first sector and then going across to the boot, where you've got to be very precise. You're going to be putting in some wheel time ready for next week?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'll need it. I've not driven Watkins Glen on iRacing. I'm still fairly new to being on here. So I've maybe not driven it since one of the old Gran Turismo games on a controller. So I think it'll be a bit different. But yeah, definitely going to need some practice. I'm off work the weekend before the race, so get a few hours in.
Brilliant. Well, Jared, congratulations on the W in the AM class tonight here at Red Bull Ring. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to tonight?
Yeah, shout out to the wife. She's allowed me to race tonight. I've got 2 children that are quite unwell. Once they got to bed, she's sort of taken over any wake-ups and let me race. So, yeah, big shout out to her.
Brilliant. Okay, cool. Well, Jared, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week for round 2 at Watkins Glen. Well done tonight.
Cheers, mate. See you later.
Right, now I think we've got time for one more interview. Let's bring in our second place man in the AM class, Connor Pink, in the number 3 McLaren. Connor, good evening and welcome into the post-race interview show. How are you doing, buddy?
Good evening. Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
So, nice way to start off the season. A solid second place in the AM class. Some good battles up and down the order, I think. But how is it for yourself? I mean, you made up 6 places. So you qualified 15th. You ended up 9th overall at the end of the race. So a pretty good way to start the season, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I had a bit of a wobbly qualifying. Got stuck behind a few people. Didn't really feel comfortable. I haven't really raced Red Bull Ring at all. 50 minutes at the start was my practice. I was practicing for the Sebring 12-hour all last week. So first race with these guys as well. So the heart was definitely pumping off the start.
Yeah, definitely the case. But of course, you know, Red Bull Ring, shortest track on the calendar, but a good way to start things off, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, definitely. It was good fun. I was trying to catch up Jared at the end there, but I was hoping an early pit stop would seal the deal, but he was just too quick on the straight, so started to lose the tyres at the end, and he just pulled away. There was no catching him.
Now, next week we go to the boot variation of Watkins Glen. How do you think the Macca's going to handle around there? Because, I mean, it's a fairly decent all-rounder in its own right. Mid-engined, rear-wheel drive, 4-litre twin-turbo V8. Good for powering up hills, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's a great car. I mean, it's the only GT3 I've ever raced. I'm quite new to iRacing. And I've never actually raced Watkins Glen, so it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. But I'll put in some wheel time this week and hopefully be up there again next week. So yeah, it should be interesting.
Well, Connor, thanks so much for joining us for a quick chat after the race, and well done on second position. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to tonight?
Just a big shout out to you guys and the missus. It was great to hear the commentary and that. So yeah, to do it all again next week.
Brilliant. Well done, Connor. We'll see you next week for Watkins Glen at round 2. Well done tonight with your second place finish in the AM class.
Cheers. Thank you, guys.
So a big thank you there for Connor for joining us. JP, final thoughts, mate. Great way to start off the season. Great battles up and down the order. And season 6 is very much all well and truly underway.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And now we've got some great circuits to go to, some great circuits to look forward to. And I think it's going to be an absolute banger of a season. I'm really looking forward to this. I think, you know, when we start getting into some of the nitty-gritties, we've got Watkins Glen in, say, next week. Then we've got Algarve, Mugello, Road America. Classic circuits before we go to Le Mans for the 24-hour layout. So, lots still to come here, guys. I can tell you that much.
And what's more, there's still plenty of action to catch up with all over the course of the week. You've got Radical SR8s, you've got the Autobahn Sports Car Challenge, BSC Spring at Homestead, Miami, League Zero Super Formula. We've got the J2 ICS Sprint Series, Main Sim Racing Series. We've got the Virtual World Sports Car Championship. FDL Endurance Round 2 returns at Silverstone. SP Web Installations in association with Jack Ashton heads to Spa this week. IGP Fun, Super Formula Lights, and so much more. Thank you so much for joining us here at JP Broadcasting. You joined myself, Alex Goldschmidt, and James Parfitt. We'll be back with you for round 2 of the Clark St. James Tanso Racing Group GT3 Season 6 at Watkins Glen. Until then, race hard, race fair. And if in doubt, well, you better go flat out. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Good night.